One of the individuals on the pretrial detention docket needs an interpreter, and the courthouse interpreter has gone to lunch. So we're going to have to wait until the interpreter returns before we can take that case. All right, which defendant of Mr. Glass or Mr. Hager would court security like to take next? Which one's more convenient? Okay.
Your Honor, this is Traon Glass, 25 CF 510 and 25 CF 506. I'm not sure if both cases are on your docket, actually, but it was my understanding that we would be handling both.
Yes, I actually have one of the cases in this envelope, so let me open that.
Could we approach?
Yes, of course.
Give me 1 second. Stay right there, okay?
Hours that you've been expecting, but now we're open Saturday 10 to 4, Sunday 10 to 3, and it's both our Crestview, Fort Walton Beach, and Eglin Air Force Base locations. So you have things to do, go and do it. Just know the UPS store is going to be here. Again, Sundays 10 until 3 p.m.
For years, I proudly served Florida as a state trooper. During that time, I investigated over 1,000 car, motorcycle, and trucking crashes. My mission was simple: to help the victims. Now, as an injury attorney, I can do even more to help accident victims. Hi, I'm attorney Coy Browning. If you've been injured in a car accident, I'd be honored to help you. Call or visit us at browninglawfirm.com.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience while I reviewed all of the paperwork. Is there a case number on the existing case that we're doing first appearance on that was previously heard by Judge Ward?
I have the case number.
I
here.
have it as
Oh,
well.
great.
Sorry.
It's 25 CF 506. The charges of burglary, occupied dwelling, unarmed, damage to property.
Perfect, thank you. 25 CF 506. So this is actually a first appearance hearing, not the pretrial detention hearing. The pretrial detention hearing is on the other case that we'll get to in a minute. Good afternoon, I'm Judge Clark. Can you tell me your name, sir?
My name is Craig. It's a pleasure meeting you, Judge Clark. I have autism, so socially I'm not there.
That's all right.
My intellect is up there, but not big brain.
That's
I don't
fine.
eat them outside too much breaks.
Are you Traon Glass?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And Ms. Farkas is an attorney. She's going to be helping you today.
Thank you.
So we're here on your first appearance on the charges of burglary of an occupied dwelling unarmed. That is a second-degree felony, and criminal mischief, $200 or under. That's a second-degree misdemeanor. It appears that Judge Ward already reviewed that paperwork and found probable cause and appointed an attorney for you. And I received the mental health evaluation back. And Ms. Farkas, did you have a chance to read it as well?
Yes, I did, and I spoke with pretrial services this morning.
All right. Does the state have a recommendation regarding bond in 25 CF 506?
Yes, Judge, primarily concerned with him not going back to the place that this occurred. It's somebody's private residence. I don't have that address in front of me, but that would be the primary concern. And as far as a monetary amount, the state would ask for $5,000 cash professional on count 1, and then $1,000 on count 2.
Okay.
And no contact with the victims.
Thank you. I believe the address is 192 Wright Circle, W-R-I-G-H-T Circle, Niceville. And defense?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Glass would have no issue with a no contact order, including the residence in the arrest report. Prior to this case, Mr. Glass had no criminal history at all, so of course there's no history of failing to appear for court. He was employed at Publix, though that may be in jeopardy now, of course. Unfortunately, he doesn't have barely any money to be able to pay any sort of bond. I'd ask you consider a lower cash or professional bond on count 1 and 2, perhaps even a signature bond, maybe a high signature bond in exchange for a lower cash or professional bond, given his complete lack of criminal history and the fact that it does appear as though he, at least according to the arrest report, knew the alleged victim. Of course, that can cut both ways, but I do believe that indicates at least Mr. Glass he was not seeking out a stranger's house for some unknown reason. So I'd ask you consider a slightly lower cash or professional bond. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
And to perfect the record, on March 5th, 2025, the defendant did enter no contest to operating a motor vehicle without a valid license, resisting officer without violence, and an attempt to solicit and conspire.
Is that, what case number is that?
25 MM 475.
Thank you. I read the allegations in the report. And I understand these are just allegations, nothing has been proven, but this is all I have to go on at this point. I do find that the state's request is well-founded. Count 1 is a second-degree felony, and I am going to set bond at $5,000 cash or professional. And on count 2, which is a second-degree misdemeanor, I will set bond at $500 signature bond on that one. And there are other conditions that will apply. Mental health pretrial services will be imposed, so you'll have to comply with mental health pretrial services. You'll have to have an evaluation and follow through with recommended treatment. You'll have to take all medications as prescribed. You'll have to make a psychiatry appointment for medication management. No contact with the victim or the witness, and stay away from 192 Wright Circle in Niceville.
Yes, ma'am. And yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I thought I was able to speak. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I'm just finishing my notes, and then we will talk about the next case, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mhm.
So,
The first appearance paperwork. Now on case 25 CF 510, we are here for a pretrial detention hearing. The charges are 1 count of aggravated battery on an officer or EMT, that's a first-degree felony. 3 counts of battery on a law enforcement officer, those are each a third-degree felony. 1 count of obstructing the police, that's a third-degree felony. 1 count of grand theft, $750 or more but less than $5,000, that's a third-degree felony. And 1 count of resisting an officer with violence, also a third-degree felony. And it looks like well, I don't have all of the paperwork from first appearance, but so I don't know if the previous judge found probable cause, but I read the report. I do find probable cause. And I don't know, Ms. Farkas, if your office was appointed at first appearance. I'm hoping so. But
It was. Our office in Crestview was appointed because the allegations are events that occurred at the jail. However, because he had the open case here in Your Honor's division first, we are expecting that this case will be transferred down to your division.
Okay.
So Mr. Gates will be handling both cases then.
All right. Is the state seeking pretrial detention?
No, Your Honor, we're going to be seeking bond.
Okay, just 1 second. I'll fill out the pretrial detention order, and then we'll have the bond hearing. All right, that concludes the pretrial detention portion of the hearing. Next, we will have a bond hearing. What is the state's recommendation?
As far as the aggravated assault or battery on a Leo, what's alleged is that Mr. Glass took a taser from one of the COs and shot one of the COs with the taser. That's a very serious allegation, especially when he's already in jail. So the state would be asking for that count, $75,000 cash professional bond. And then as far as the other batteries on Leo, resisting, and the grand theft, we would leave it to Your Honor's discretion as far as the cash professional bond that we would be seeking.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Farkas?
Excuse me, Your Honor. The arguments that I made in the first appearance for the previous case do stand here as well. It appears as though Mr. Glass picked up a couple of cases in very, very short succession. The fact still remains that he was employed, he did have stable living prior to these cases, but he does not have anywhere close to $75,000 to pay for a bond. He knows the allegations here are very serious, but given that he has no failures to appear prior to this, I would ask that Your Honor take that part into consideration at least and consider a lower cash or professional bond, as chances are any amount of bond is going to be tantamount to remand at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does Mr. Glass have family in the area? If you told me that, and I forgot, I'm sorry.
Yes, Your Honor, all of his family. It's my understanding, speaking with pretrial services, that his family is in the Niceville and Shalimar areas,
Thank you.
and Walton County as well.
Maybe Walton and Holmes County.
The allegations are very serious. There are 4 separate victims identified in the probable cause narrative, all of whom are alleged to have sustained injuries. Therefore, that explains why the charges are what they are, but I understand there's also a mental health component here that's evident in the probable cause narrative as well. As to count 1, the aggravated battery on a law enforcement officer, the court does find that that's a first-degree felony, and the court does find that the state's position is well-founded. I am setting bond at $75,000 on count 1. Cash or professional. On counts 2, 3, and 4, each of those would be $5,000, cash or professional. Count 5, obstructing, $2,000 cash or professional. Grand theft, $2,000 cash or professional. Resisting with violence, $2,000 cash or professional. In addition, it'll be the same terms and conditions, mental health pretrial services. I mean, he doesn't have to do the same requirements twice, but I just want to make sure that pretrial services is involved in this case as well. Mental health pretrial services. So you'll have to follow all the orders of the mental health pretrial officer. And same terms and conditions as the previous case. Take all medications as prescribed, and the other conditions I listed a minute ago in case, I believe it's 506, 25506. And when will Mr. Glass's court date be?
Set for Tuesday on April 17th.
April 17th at 1:30 is arraignment on both cases.
I think, as of now, I think the Crestview case, because it's still a Crestview case, is set for April 10th, but I think in the next few days, it'll get moved down here. So, I think it won't really matter in a few days, but.
I think 25-510 might be the Crestview case, because that's the
Yes.
one that occurred in the jail.
Yes,
Okay, so right now, that one's set for April 10th, but if it gets transferred to my division, it will be tracking with the other case. They'll both be on the same day.
perfect, thank you.
Okay. Good luck to you, sir. I'll see you in April. Okay?
Thank you, Ms. Lacy.
Thank you. Here's the bond. And I believe we have our interpreter present, so let's go ahead and take the defendant who needs an interpreter, if we can.
And Your Honor, if I could have a minute to speak with her at the podium with the interpreter present?
Sure.
And Your Honor, that concludes my business today. May I be excused?
Yes. Have a
Thank
good
you.
afternoon.
You as well.
Thank you.
You got it. Judge Mason says the state attorneys are fungible, so I have Ms. Gaynor, who is going to cover the arraignments.
Thank you. Ms. Farkas, do you want the noise on? Sure. This is case 25 CF 501, and my name is Judge Clark. Could you state your name, please?
Batista.
All right, thank you. And you were saying something, Ms. Farkas?
No, I was just going to introduce my client, but she did it herself.
Thank you. And Madam Interpreter, if you'll raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that you will truthfully and accurately interpret the proceedings in Spanish and English today? I do. Thank you. All right, we're here for a pretrial detention hearing. The charges are 1 count of aggravated child abuse, which is a first-degree felony, and 1 count of resisting an officer without violence, which is a first-degree misdemeanor. Is the state seeking pretrial detention?
Ma'am, the state is not seeking pretrial detention, and we have reviewed the case. We do believe that the upper charge, the first-degree felony, is more appropriately a child abuse, and we do have a bond recommendation.
Okay, just 1 second.
Yo haré lo posible para
All right, that will conclude the pretrial detention portion of the hearing. And next, we will have the bond hearing. All right, what is the state's recommendation?
Ma'am, the state's recommendation is a $5,000 cash or professional bond for the child abuse, along with a no contact with the victim, no unsupervised contact with any minors, and we'd like her placed on pretrial supervision, please.
Okay.
If there is a DCF case plan, we're asking that she comply with that.
Okay. Question about that. The no contact with the victim.
Your Honor, we have a good working relationship with DCF. If they believe that contact is appropriate, they will generally contact us, and then we would contact the court to allow modification. But at this point, based on the allegations, we're not comfortable with that.
Okay. So I guess my question is if DCF, if the Chapter 39 court, the dependency court, permits supervised contact, in the event this happens, are you asking that we bring it back in and have this court modify the bond, or do you want a provision in the bond to permit the DCF court to do
Your
that?
Honor, it would be more expeditious in this case to go ahead and allow the provision in the bond that the Chapter 39 court could make that recommendation as long as it's supervised.
Of course.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I'm not saying that they will. I'm just didn't know if the state was wanting to give that other court discretion on the contact of whatever, if any.
I think we can do that, ma'am.
Okay.
And we'll be in close contact with DCF. If there's any additional concerns, we will come back to this court.
Great. Thank you. And defense?
Thank you, Your Honor. My client does not have a criminal history apart from the allegations here. She lives in Fort Walton Beach with her mother-in-law. She was working in a restaurant. She does not make very much money. I understand the request from the state is $5,000 cash or professional. I'd ask that you consider a slightly lower bond. Her family would maybe be able to put together some money, but $5,000 will be a bit much for her. But other than that, she does not have an issue complying with pretrial services or the other terms that Ms. Basso has laid out.
Ms. Basso, do you know whether DCF has sheltered the child?
Ma'am, I was trying to, we just got this case and we were trying to review it. My understanding is from DCF notes is that the child is with another family at this point, but I don't believe there's anything formally in place other than they're assisting that family to care for the child.
Thank you. Well, in light of that, unless there is an order entered by a dependency court permitting contact, then it would be a no contact.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Pero como que ahora me voy a llevar.
So on the no contact, I put no contact with victim unless a court order is entered in a dependency judicial case permitting supervised contact. And by judicial case, that's a term used in the dependency system. It means an actual case filed in court rather than an informal case. As to the monetary bond, so Ms. Basso, let me make sure I understood about the charge. I know right now this is a first-degree felony. When you were mentioning the charge, did you mean that the state may file a different charge or what?
Yes, ma'am. We reviewed the facts and circumstances and the nature of the injuries alleged, and we do believe it's appropriate that it be charged with a third-degree felony child abuse.
Thank you. That's what I thought you said, but I wanted to make sure I understood you.
Yes, ma'am.
In light of that, then the court is evaluating the case on Ms. Basso's representation as what the charge will be, not what the arrest report says the charge is, which is a first-degree felony, which would be,
Yes, thank you. And thank you to the state
well,
for at least putting it on the record.
yes,
That's fair.
I still find that the recommendation from the state is well-founded.
Yes, thank
So $5,000 as recommended, cash or professional. On the resisting an officer, $500 signature bond on that. Pretrial services to monitor, I already mentioned the no contact order. I'm going to include do not go within 500 feet of the victim's residence, meaning where the victim is currently staying. So the victim's current residence, wherever that may be, or any vehicle that the victim may be riding in, or other places frequented by the victim. You are to cooperate with DCF and the dependency court, comply with any case plan. or safety plan that may be put in place. Any other terms and conditions that the state's requesting?
No, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, I have nothing further on this docket or your arraignment docket. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Rachel Hall.
And the case number for Ms. Batista was 25 CF 501, just in case I didn't announce it earlier. I just realized Ms. Basso just left. She's not on the next one for Judge Oberleeson?
No, Judge, I am.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Your Honor, this is, Your Honor, this is Cody Hager.
All right, this is 25 CF 514. I'm Judge Clark. I'm covering for Judge Oberleeson. And if you'll just give me a minute to read the paperwork. Thank you. I reviewed the paperwork. The charges are 1 count of aggravated child abuse, which is a first-degree felony, 1 count of child neglect with great bodily harm, that's a second-degree felony, and 1 count of child neglect without great bodily harm, which is a third-degree felony. I don't have the paperwork about the first appearance and whether that judge found probable cause, but I reviewed the paperwork and I do find probable cause. Is the state seeking pretrial detention?
Judge, we are not in this case.
Okay, let me fill out that order. All right, now we're having a bond hearing, and what is the state's recommendation?
Judge, we are seeking a $20,000 cash professional bond on the aggravated child abuse charge. We would defer to the court on the 2 neglect counts, 1 with great bodily harm, 1 without. We are seeking no contact with the victims, no contact with the co-defendant, no contact with minors, GPS and pretrial services.
All right, defense?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Hager has no criminal history apart from a driving while license suspended, a withhold. He has no failures to appear. Excuse me. He was working in pressure washing prior to the arrest, so he was employed. He was working more than 40 hours a week. If I could have him sworn in just to briefly ask about how much money he'd be able to pay for a bond.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say I do. Thank you. State your name, please.
My name is Cody Hager.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Farkas.
Thank you. Mr. Hager, were you employed previous to this arrest?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you doing for work?
Commercial pressure washing.
Okay. And how much money would you be able to pay for a bond?
About 10,000, or about 1,000 of my own. About 1,000 of my own.
So on a $10,000 bond, you mean?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Those are all my questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Does the state have any?
We do not, Judge.
Okay, thank you.
So, Your Honor, my client would be able to pay a lower cash or professional bond than the state attorney is requesting. The address in the arrest report is my client's address, the 1443 Bel Air Drive. That his apartment. He pays rent there, and his name is on the lease. So he has a stable place to live. And like I said, no history of failing to appear for court. He would have no problem complying with the GPS if it could be put at $1 a day while the case is open. So I'd ask Your Honor to consider a $10,000 cash or professional bond to allow him to bond out and meet with his attorney and handle the case on the outside.
Okay, thank you. Do we know whether the children have been sheltered?
I believe they have, Judge.
Okay, so there's an open dependency case.
Yes, Judge.
Great, thank you.
Your Honor, if I may?
Yes.
Given that information, I also wasn't sure if there was an open dependency case. I'd ask that you consider doing similarly to what we did in the previous case, where if the dependency court permits supervised contact with the minors, with the alleged victims, that the court, in this case, would consider the same.
Yes.
If that is ordered, of course.
As to count 1, which is a first-degree felony, and I'm pointing out, just so our record is clear, there are 2 separate victims alleged in the probable cause narrative. Victim number 1 is alleged to be 3 months old. Victim number 2 is alleged to be 2 years old. Count 1 pertains to victim number 1. The court finds that the state's recommendation is well-founded and is actually what this court considers low for a first-degree felony. $20,000, cash or professional. On count 2, which is a second-degree felony, the court sets bond at $20,000, cash or professional. As to count 3, child neglect without great bodily harm, the court sets bond at $10,000, cash or professional. Pretrial services to monitor, additional monetary or non-monetary conditions, no contact with the co-defendant, no contact with the victims unless the dependency court enters a court order permitting supervised contact. So this court will defer to the dependency court if the dependency court, which they're involved in the case, they get recommendations from case managers and from DCF and Families First Network. If that court believes that some form of contact is appropriate, then I will leave that decision to them. Until such an order is entered, there will be no contact with the victims. There will be no contact with any minors unless permitted by court order in the dependency case or as to other minors in this case. I could enter one if it was found to be appropriate. You shall not be within 500 feet of the victim's current residence or any vehicle in which they are riding, or any other places frequented by either of the victims, such as like a daycare that they may attend or any place like that. I'm requiring a GPS monitor installed prior to release. The cost will be $1 per day, and you are to cooperate with the DCF dependency court. And if I didn't already mention it, pretrial services to monitor. And this is a Crestview case, so I'm not sure what Judge Oberleason's court date would be. April 10th is your arraignment date with Judge Oberleason. Good luck to you. Thank you.
Judge Clark, may I be excused? I have to go down to Judge Stone's courtroom.
Yes, thank you. All right, good afternoon. I'm Judge Clark. We are here for arraignment court. Does anyone need the court to appoint a lawyer for you? If so, please raise your hand. Great. I see some hands because we have some papers for you to fill out. Please fill out every question on the form. Circle yes or no for every question. Because if you leave a question blank, then the clerk will not accept the form. You'll have to redo it. When you finish filling out the forms, If you could just hand them in to the attorney, and then she'll pass them on to the clerk. If you need the forms for a court-appointed lawyer, hold your hand up really high so that court security can see you.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Of course.
Afternoon. My name is Rachel Farkas. I'm with the Public Defender's Office. Today I am also Travis Gates with the Public Defender's Office. Slightly less weird. So I have all of these cases up here. If any of you are represented by Travis Gates, you know that you already are, and you'd like to speak with me, you can do so out in the hallway once you get this form. Okay? Thank you.
I got a question. I know Travis Gates for years, but I don't know who's representing me.
What's your name?
John Travis.
You don't have
Yeah, I've had Steve with him, but this is on a different case.
So I don't think the public defender has been appointed yet. So
All right. So did everyone who needs a form get a form? Or is anybody else who still needs a form for the court-appointed lawyer? Okay, I don't see any hands. When I call your name, please come up to the podium as quickly as you can without hurting yourself or hurting someone else. I'm going to inform you of the charges. I'll appoint a lawyer for you if you need me to, if you don't already have one. And we will discuss your next court date, when that will be. There are also some forms to fill out to make sure that the clerk of court has an accurate address for you. In case notices are mailed to you, we want to make sure that you receive those notices of court dates. Ronald Benbow? Yes, sir. Thank you. Come on up. And Ms. Farkas, I believe this is Mr. Medina's case?
yes, Mr. Medina will be here. I saw him at the office earlier. I'm not totally sure where he is.
Okay. Do you,
I can appear.
Okay.
I'm happy to do it.
All right. And, sir, if you'll state your name for me.
Ronald Bimbo.
Thank you. This is case 25 CF 224, and this is one count of fraud, employer failing to secure, it's kind of cut off, payment compensation. Looks like there was an information filed on March 7th, and looks like the public defender's office is already representing you. And Ms. Farkas, how does?
Yes, my client would like to, or I suppose Mr. Medina's client would like to enter a plea of not guilty. I believe he's already in contact with our office, but I'll make sure he has a card with our contact information.
All right, and it looks like you're scheduled for pretrial conference on April 14th at 9 o'clock. And just in case the clerk doesn't have the most recent contact information for you, there should be some forms up there.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, if you could just fill out the form with your contact information so I can make sure the clerk has correct information and turn it in before you leave. Johnny Blankenship, case 25 CF 258. Good afternoon. Can you tell me your name?
Johnny Blankenship.
Thank you, sir. And you are here on one count of possession of a controlled substance without a prescription, one count of driving while license suspended or revoked, and one count of possession of drug paraphernalia. And would you like me to appoint a lawyer for you? I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender provisionally until the paperwork is approved by the clerk.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Your Honor.
No
I
problem.
neglected to bring cards for Steve. Mr. Blankenship would like to enter a plea of not guilty and request the next court date.
All right, you are scheduled, sir, for pretrial conference on April 14th at 9 o'clock. Ms. Farkas, are there some forms up there with a court date that you can fill in?
There are. I'm filling it out right now.
Thank you for doing that.
Nope, thank you for having them here.
And sir, make sure you fill out the form completely so that you can be approved for a court-appointed lawyer. And please turn it in before you leave the courtroom. Penny Bodine, 25 CF 208. Penny Rena Bodine. Oh, a written plea was filed? Okay, great. A written plea was filed on her behalf. Her next court date is April 14th at 9. Xavier Boyers, 25 CF 201. Xavier Boyers. This is also one of Mr. Medina's cases.
Yes.
Okay. And
It's
sir,
kind
if
of
you could just state your name for me, please.
Xavier Boyers.
Thank you, sir. You're here on one count of fleeing and eluding police, failing to obey law enforcement. And Ms. Farkas?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Boyers would like to enter a plea of not guilty and request the next court date.
All right, that would be April 14th at 9 o'clock, sir. And please continue to fill out the paperwork so we can make sure that you qualify for the court-appointed lawyer.
Yes,
And turn it in before you leave, okay?
Yes,
There's that.
Thank you.
There's that.
Markel Bush, 25 CF 198. All right, sir, can you state your name?
Markel Bush.
Thank you, sir. You're charged with one count of possessing actual or constructive possession of a synthetic drug, which is a third-degree felony, and it looks like this is also Mr. Medina's case.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Bush would like to enter a plea of not guilty and request the next court date.
All right, that's April 14th at 9 o'clock. And sir, are you filling out the paperwork?
I filled out the paper last time.
Good. Okay, great. Thank you for that. And please be in court April 14th.
All right.
Thank you. John Chapman, 25 CF 284.
This is John Chapman.
All right, sir, if you'll state your name, please.
John L. Chapman.
Thank you, sir. And would you like me to appoint a lawyer for you?
I think so.
All right, I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender provisionally until they review your paperwork that you're filling out. You're here on 2 counts of fraud, uttering a false bank bill, note, check, or draft, 2 counts. And Ms. Farkas?
Mr. Chapman would like to enter a plea of not guilty and request the next court date. I believe that he's already represented by Mr. Medina, even though his name falls within my portion of the alphabet. But either way, he will be represented by one of us.
Thank you.
Yes.
And pretrial conference will be April 14th at 9.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Mr. Chapman, can you step this way? Thank you, sir. We have a warrant for you. So that. Yes, sir. I'll show you right now.
Eldred Edwards, 25 CF 200. Eldred Edwards. Abernathy Geiger. Abernathy Geiger?
That was a plea by Mr. Boots.
All right. Written plea was filed on her behalf. That's 25 CF 241. Her court date is April 14th at 9 o'clock. Erica Gherkin, 25 CF 249. Yes, ma'am, if you'll just state your name.
Erica Gerthen.
Thank you, ma'am. You're charged with 1 count of resisting an officer with violence. Would you like me to appoint a lawyer for you?
Yes.
All right, I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender. That's conditional upon the clerk reviewing your paperwork. And Ms. Farkas is here, and she'll be helping you today.
Your Honor, Ms. Gerken would like to enter a plea of not guilty today and request the next court date.
Wonderful, thank you. And the court date is April 14th at 9 o'clock. And please make arrangements to talk to your attorney prior to then. And please fill out the paperwork before you leave, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Melissa Gibson, 25 CF 260. All right, thank you, ma'am. If you'll state your name.
Melissa Marie Gibson.
Thank you. You are charged with 1 count of possession of a controlled substance without a prescription and 1 count of possession of drug paraphernalia. Would you like me to appoint a lawyer?
Yeah, I applied for one, and they told me that I wasn't indigent.
Okay, let me take a look at it, okay?
Okay.
Oh, it appears that your application was incomplete. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to highlight the part that you didn't fill out, and then court security will hand it to you. And if you could fill that part out and just sign it again, and then they'll re-review it, okay?
Okay.
Okay, there it is. Thank you. I think I highlighted the right part. Okay.
I can't see.
We'll take a look.
It says if the answer is no, then just select no on each of those. She's supposed to, this one on the five, if she knows. She did. Okay. Okay.
That was what looked like it was highlighted to me. So I
The
highlighted it.
instructions say to leave that blank if you have no, but whatever.
this one? Ma'am, let me just place you under oath and make sure that I understand your form. I might be able to resolve the issue right now, okay?
Okay.
If you'll just raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you, ma'am. Just state your name for me one more
Melissa
time.
Marie Gibson.
Thank you. So I'm reading your application, and it says on here that, I'll make sure I've got it right, you have 0 income, is that right?
Right.
Okay. Do you have any money in the bank?
No.
Do you own any real estate?
No, ma'am.
Do you own any vehicles?
No, ma'am.
Do you have any assets that are worth more than $2,500?
No, ma'am.
All right, I find that you qualify. So
Thank
I'm
you.
going to sign your application and appoint the Office of the Public Defender for you.
I appreciate it.
Sure. We do definitely need an updated address
The
for you.
one I use is
Here,
106
you go.
Preston. Oh,
Yeah, the clerk's office tried to mail you something and it came back. It was returned by the post office.
You didn't do my in-house thing,
No, yeah.
Sir? Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, I've given Ms. Gibson, Mr. Gates' card as well.
Oh, great, thank you. I'm just filling out I'm writing on the revised application to
Thank you.
make the finding that she is indigent. And Ms. Barkus, are you entering a not guilty plea?
Yes, Your Honor, Ms. Gibson would like to enter a not guilty plea. I believe her next court date would be April 14th.
That is correct. And ma'am, please fill out the address form.
We've got it right? Yes.
Wonderful, because the mail came back that they sent you, okay? All right.
Thank
and sure, stay in touch with your lawyer, okay?
okay.
April 14th at 9, please be there. Alex Gomez Rojas. Be written here. Oh, I think. Yeah, I don't see a written plea filed. Alex Gomez Rojas. All right, I will pass Mr. Gomez Rojas just in case he is in the other courtroom. I'll pass the case for a little bit and see if he turns up. Eleazar Herrera, case 25 CF 286. And could you state your name, please?
Eliazar Armando Herrera Ruiz.
Thank you. And this is Mr. Gates's case?
Yes, this is Travis Gates's case. I'm sorry. I apologize, Your Honor. Spoken with Mr. Gates about the case. Mr. Herrera would like to enter a plea of not guilty and request the next court date.
All
It's my
right.
understanding that he and the state are already discussing the case.
Okay. The next court date will be April 14th at 9 o'clock. And, sir, stay in touch with Mr. Gates.
That's yours. That's your copy. Excuse me, my goodness.
Al Jackson, 25 CF 181. Yes, sir, can you tell me your name?
Al Jackson.
Thank you, sir. And it looks like you're represented by Mr. Gates also. Have you already filled out the forms?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great, thank you. You're charged with 1 count of possession of a controlled substance without a prescription, 1 count of obstructing justice, tampering with evidence, and 1 count of possession of drug paraphernalia. And Ms. Farkas?
Yes, Your Honor, I was giving Mr. Jackson, Mr. Gates's card. Mr. Jackson would like to enter a not guilty plea and request the next court date.
All right, that is April 14th at 9 o'clock. And please stay in touch with Mr. Gates. Make sure we have a correct address for you if we don't already. Thank you.
This is your next court date. This is just your copy of the charges. So give our office a call, set up a meeting. Okay, have a great day.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present who has a court date today that I have not called your name? Yes, come on up.
Your Honor, this gentleman is not on the docket, but he had an FTA from last arraignment. This is Atkinson, Adkinson, Donnie M. He's 24 CF 2926. He has a failure to appear in a habeas, and he had written the court. I think he wrote properly when he finally found out about the matter. He represents that he was getting information from the bondsman and the clerk that led him to believe that his court date was April 14, I think, or was that?
April 14th is.
And his bondsman supposedly is on the way, but maybe we can deal with it. If, you know,
May I speak, Your Honor?
Just 1 second,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
Adkinson, Adkinson.
All right, today is March 13th. The court date was February 13th. It was a month ago.
Yes, ma'am.
That was your arraignment, and you failed to appear.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I issued a capias. And I do see your request sent the very next day, February 14th,
Yes, ma'am. That's when I found
asking
out.
for the capias to be lifted. So, Mr. Medina, I'm wondering why it took your client a month to show up.
Well, Your Honor, can I speak?
I have no idea. I have no
Yeah, I know.
information.
Well, I didn't want to ask your client directly, but,
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so I contacted on February 13th, I contacted the clerk court to find out when my court date was, because I wasn't sure if it was the 14th or if it was 13th. The lady at the clerk court, my sister's got her information. She said that I didn't have court that date, that they changed my court date till April 13th. So I contacted my bondsman. And whenever I spoke to Mr. Byrd went through his whole computer system, and he said, "No, Donnie, you do not have court today. The court date was changed from today till April 13th. Don't say why, but it has been changed. So no, you do not have court." So I went to work. Right. Next day, I found out that I had a warrant. So I wrote the letter to you and trying to explain what happened. And the reason it's taking me this long is because I've been waiting on my bondsman to have the time to be able to come up here and speak to you and let you know that, yes, he's the one who told me I didn't have court. You know, he went through his whole computer system. We sat there on the phone for about 15, 20 minutes, him just looking through his computer to find out why my court date was changed. It didn't say why it was changed. It just said that it was changed till April 13th. So whenever he told me no, Donnie, I was like, "Are you sure?" And he kept saying yes. You know, he said, "I'm positive you don't have court today." So whenever he said that, I went to work.
April 13th is a Sunday.
No, April 14th.
Oh, okay. I thought you said April 13th there a couple times.
I think he misspoke.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
I think they just referenced his pre-trial is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll check in every Monday like I'm supposed to with Mr. Byrd. I have no issues.
Okay.
I haven't been no trouble. Like I'm working and doing everything I'm supposed to do as a functioning member of society.
All right.
You know?
I'm looking at the jail paperwork, and it says February 13th at 1 o'clock on the jail paperwork. Do y'all have an outstanding warrant?
We have to check, it wasn't on the docket.
Okay. All right.
I'm sure there would be the capias, but other than that, I'm not aware of anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's a capias. I mean, I can see it.
I can look it up, Your Honor. Let's see if there's any other warrant.
Well, I was wondering about this one,
Yes, sir.
not necessarily the others.
Oh, give me a couple minutes.
Sure. Okay.
And he has been, for the court's consideration, he has been in contact with our office.
Okay.
I am not sure what my assistant's been able to confer with him about specifics. Our normal protocol is to say, you know, come to the next time the court's in business so we can get it cleaned up. But like he's saying, there was efforts on his part to coordinate with the bail bondsman because of the significance
And
of
the clerk court.
issue to him.
Right.
And the clerk of court, right in the court as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think I don't think he would have any incentive to miss the court date, knowing the
Yeah.
peril that would put him. So I think it was an inadvertent
Right.
mistake.
I also had court and had another arraignment date on February 20th, if I'm not mistaken, a week later. Let's see. I did. That would be February 20th. That was a week after the missed court date. Is the bondsman on his way?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. I spoke to him earlier whenever you first started this, after that guy that was in the county, and he said that he'd be here in about 35, 40 minutes. So,
All right.
You know, I'm not, I don't want, it's, the last thing I want to do is miss court, you know.
That is good to hear.
I'm trying
Because
to-
bad things happen when people miss court.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that, and that's why I took the initiative to come up here today and
Okay.
speak to you.
All right, so let me see what the state's position is. I think bond has been forfeited, so that means we would have to set a new bond.
Your Honor, I've asked the court to, if we're going to hear from the bondsman, of course, I'm sorry, Judge, I'm
Yeah.
speaking out of turn. I just would respectfully ask the court to hold open the possibility of reinstating the bond in the event that the capias is recalled.
Okay, well, then let's see what the bondsman says when he gets here.
Can I have my sister call and find out where he's at?
Sure.
Tiff, call Bird.
Is the last one I called?
It's the last one to call and find out where he's at.
Sir, you can come out and somewhere next to Mr. Turner. Judge.
Yeah.
Deputy Lucille looked at the our system and just showed one,
Just the capias. Okay, well, hopefully the bondsman will be here shortly and we can get things sorted out, okay?
Like I said, it's the last thing I wanted was
Okay.
miss court.
All right, so let's go ahead and start working on the inmates. We've got Maddox Abernathy, 25 CF 238.
Your Honor, unfortunately, I didn't get to speak to my inmates to tell them a little bit of information, and Mr. Abernathy's one of them, but when he comes out, we can have him.
at the podium.
Yeah, we can have him at the podium. I'm just letting the court know there's a couple of pleas we may be working out, and I apologize. I just trying to get my computer working, and it's on me, but
No problem.
So
Mr. Abernathy, we can take.
Let the others hold because we're loading up your inmates.
It really just depends on what's come in my computer on email real quick, but I can't really for sure say that I won't be able to take others. Let's have to look at emails. Your Honor, Steve Medina with Maddox C. Abernathy. I apologize to the
Okay.
bailiffs for...
That is 25 CF 238.
Yes, Your Honor. My
Okay.
understanding, I talked to Susan Thornton with Mental Health Court, the supervisor, the staff person, and she indicated, and it was my information, he had appeared yesterday, and things basically look favorable to having mental health court. We're on schedule for a bond hearing today. That's why he's here. But I was going to basically ask that the bond motion just be postponed. The reason being that it looks promising that on April 2nd he can hopefully, we don't know for sure, the state has to complete contact to the officers. But if he can get in a mental health court, that's better than him. If he were to bond out here, he has a VOP holdover in Walton, and it would transmit him over there. So that's not in his best interest since it looks promising to get into mental health court. So he's okay. He's nodding that he understands. If we can put him off, if we can just continue basically postpone without resetting the motion for bond.
Okay.
And I'll reset it if need be, and he can just remain on the April 14th pretrial with Your Honor, with the understanding in the interim on April 2nd he's going back to mental health court. I'll be talking more to the state. I know that there will be victim contact.
Yeah, the state has made contact with both of the deputies in this case. They strongly object to any diversion program for this defendant, so that will be the state's position as well. I haven't watched the body cam to actually see it in real time, but from their recollection of the facts, they do not believe this was a mental health incident. The fact the defendant was very calm as he was in the back seat and then later went into another fight. The deputy had to get a tetanus shot. He was bit. Blood was shown. Injury was there. So my victims absolutely object to a diversion program. The state will not be offering a diversion program.
Okay.
Just so we're on the same page, diversion programs to some people would mean that it was knocked down to like a misdemeanor where the case could be dismissed if he complied, but I was envisioning the norm for felony cases would be basically with a probation sentence, presumably on the original charge.
With mental health court as a
With
condition.
mental health court as an add-on.
Okay.
Is that something that would be an absolute no-go, or is that something that the state might consider and discuss some further?
We can discuss that,
Okay.
so we're not wasting any
Okay.
time, but we can
So,
discuss during
I
negotiations.
think, just so we're on the same page, is I think it's actually possibly still feasible with respect to a felony plea, but has to be done that way. That is the way that we have been doing it for most of the felony court pleas that have mental health court. It's an add-on to a felony plea with probation. It's not, strictly speaking, diversion. So that's why I wanted to clear that up. So
Okay. So, as to Mr. Abernathy, I'm trying to see if there's not a written plea.
there's not, and
Okay.
it would be, even though it's would be probation with the mental health court as an add-on, that the way Judge Schlechter did it is he liked to take that plea, so it would probably be all done before whoever's handling mental health court.
Oh, I just meant like a written plea of not guilty or something.
Oh,
So,
no,
yeah.
Judge, we would just do a verbal plea of not guilty today, since this
Gotcha.
is arraignment.
Yeah, the charges are 1 count of battery on an officer. Well, let me pull up the information.
Assault on an officer and resisting, I think.
Correct. Resisting without violence, battery upon a law enforcement officer, and assault upon a law enforcement officer. The battery charge is a third-degree felony, and the other 2 charges are first-degree misdemeanors. So the court date is going to be April 14th at 9, but if Mr. Abernathy is still incarcerated, he'll be moved to the April 16th docket. So, but right now it's set for April
Right.
14th.
And if the state will just let me know if it's feasible, I'll try to draft something by April 2nd. If it's not, then that's, we'll roll with it. But hopefully, because I think the mental health court would be good for him. I think from a clinical point of view, the staff over there is favorably inclined. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I think he is set for a bond here. Mr. Abernathy might be set for a bond hearing. Well,
Oh,
actually,
Your Honor, I may have set it for the 18th, not.
it
for-
is set for the 18th.
Okay, I was confused. I'm sorry. So Your Honor's assistant had probably told us we needed to do it that way. Let's just take that off the March 18th docket. Can we just cancel that? And
Would you mind filing a notice of cancellation? Just so
Yes.
that the record is clear, because otherwise, if there's just a notice of hearing in the file, it's going to look like the matter was heard and then there's no order or anything. So if you
Yes,
could just
Judge.
file a notice of cancellation,
Yes.
that would be great. And then if you decide to reset it, you can do so.
Thank you, Judge.
Sure.
I thank you, Ms. Godfrey. We'll get that taken care of.
Okay.
Judge, next up is going to be Michael Bennett.
All right, that's 25 CF 233, Michael Bennett.
And I don't have a file for Mr. Bennett. I don't have any information, so
Okay.
I would need to do a conflict check to provide any advice. Does the state have an offer? I don't even know what the charge is.
I will read that out.
Drug possession of, controlled substance, trespassing, and I do see a 25 MN 311, another trespassing charge. The offer today would be a global plea to 1129 OCJ. Is a downward departure to his.
Does he have the public defender, Madam Clerk?
This is Michael Bennett?
Yes,
Yeah.
because usually I get the files for the.
That I don't.
He does have misdemeanors on the misdemeanor case.
I'm sorry?
He does have misdemeanors on the misdemeanor case.
Okay. Is the felony case like a 23 CF, an older, or is it a new it's a new felony case as well as a new misdemeanor case or a misdemeanor VOP or something?
Looks like two involved.
I'm not showing any older cases
Okay, then,
that are violated.
Your Honor, let's have it, because it's 11/29 jail offer, he's not going to get out today. I'll come see him, I'll get a file, I'll do a conflict check to make sure I can advise him. It sounds like I could probably go see him next week. So if we could enter a not guilty plea, and is he on April 14th? Or April 16th, probably?
Yes, right now, well, let's see, the misdemeanor is 25 MM311. That's not what we're here on today. I'm just mentioning there's another open case out there. We're here on 25 CF233, and the charges in that case are possession of a controlled substance without a prescription and trespassing structure or conveyance. Now, that other misdemeanor, it was assigned to Judge Schlechter, but he's no longer here, so it's the vacant division. That's also a trespassing. I don't have anything to do with that case, so that would be a different court date. But on the felony case, the next court date is April 14th, and sir, if you're still incarcerated, we'll move you to the 16th of April, but stay in touch with Mr. Medina, and I know Mr. Medina will be out to see you.
Your Honor, I'm putting, if he gets out of jail, it's April 14th, so is that the date that's on the docket right now?
April 14th is the date.
Okay, so April 14th at 9 a.m. If you're still in custody, it'll probably be something different.
Yeah, if you're still in custody, you'll be brought on the 16th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Jacob Barrett.
Your Honor, on Mr. Barrett, I know the state, I had drafted something, the state had tried to email me, so I just need to look at my computer. Just stand right there, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, this is 25 CF262.
Your Honor, may I just have
Sure,
a moment of the court's
take your time. Take your time.
Because I know Ms. Gaynor is doing her best to respond.
Of course.
Your Honor, I've drafted something that I think he's gonna want to take, but I need, if I could just give him a real quick.
Sure, let me put the noise on for you.
Want to take.
You might need to say that again because...
Yes, Judge, just for the record, Steve Medina for Jacob Allen Bereth, B-E-R-R-E-T-H, 25 CF262. I have drafted an agreement that I think he wants to take. I just wanted to tell him that a better offer that he had made is not acceptable to the state at this time, but he wants to go ahead and take what we have drafted. I'm going to give him a copy of it. There's no staples or paper clips, and I'll come back and talk to him as soon as I get a moment.
Sure.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. All right. Let me make a note to recall Mr. Barrett.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, next is...
Hey, Ms. Berube.
Yes.
Victoria L. Berube, 25 CF 188.
Yes.
And Your Honor, it is probably going to be an agreement with Ms. Berube that I need to let her know about.
Okay.
Just real quickly.
Sure. Do you want the noise on?
Yes.
Okay. There we go.
Sorry,
I don't think the court reporter can hear when I've got the white noise.
I appreciate that, Your Honor.
Sure.
Steve Medina with Victoria Berube, 25 CF 188. I think we're going to have a plea deal for the state's 90-day jail offer. I've already drafted it. I'm going to hand it to her.
Sure.
And get it back to her.
All right.
It was just confusing paperwork piles. And,
That's fine.
So if I may have just a moment.
Sure.
I'm going to hand her the paperwork that I will be back to see. No? Well, you can take it if you want to. Then I'll be back to see her in a moment as well, Your Honor.
All right.
Yeah, you'll step out.
Okay, next is Mauricio Bonilla, 25 CF 248.
Your Honor, this is Steve Medina with Mauricio Bonilla. We may have an agreement today. The state sent me it was going to be very elaborate. I had drafted it in a certain way. The state has commented in such a way that I need to make sure I understand it and make some changes. I can't say for absolutely sure we're going to have a deal today because honestly I haven't comprehended the specifics and I need to go over it with him. But we're trying to do a deal today, okay? Okay. So may I have a moment to reassess on Mr. Bonilla and bring him back if we
Sure.
can get a deal done?
Let me go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and do the arraignment, and that way, if you don't bring him back out, then I've already completed his hearing.
Yes, Your Honor.
So the charges are possession of a controlled substance without a prescription, possession of drug paraphernalia, driving while license suspended or revoked, no or improper vehicle registration, and I cannot make out.
Attaching a license plate.
Yes. Attaching a license plate, I guess that's incorrect or not owned. Let me take a look at it. But
I think that probably should have been a 60-day second-degree misdemeanor, but I'm not. Is that a first degree?
Let me find it.
It's down as an M1 on the state's information, so that's probably correct. I just haven't. I don't know.
Attaching a license plate not registered, it's showing as
Yeah, I
a
think that's a first degree misdemeanor.
M1. Yeah, so let's see, all of them are various misdemeanors except for the possession of a controlled substance, which is a third-degree felony.
Yes.
Okay, so how does your client plead?
Your Honor, he'll plead not guilty.
Okay.
He may change his plea in the
That's
next
fine.
30 minutes or so. I would also, just for convenience, he has a VOP that's not assigned to the public defender yet, but I'm sure will be. It is set for March 18. It is 22 CF 1558.
Okay.
And he could go ahead and enter a denial in that. But like I said, we're probably going to reach a global deal here, or at least that's the hope.
Okay, let me, hold
You
on
understand?
just one second. If I address 22 CF1. Okay. Sir, Mr. Bonilla, would you like me to appoint a lawyer for you in your violation of probation case 22 CF 1558? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender in that case.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Sure.
So if he could step out, Your Honor,
Of course.
I'm going to not give him what I had drafted because I think it's going to have to be changed perhaps significantly, but it's possible we can still work it out. So step out, and I'll do a little bit more homework and get back with you hopefully very soon. Thank you.
Okay, sure. His next court date on this case, in case he doesn't come back out, is going to be April 14th
Yes, Judge.
at 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
Sure.
Larry Brown?
Larry Brown, 25 CF 138.
Your Honor, I do want to advise him of something.
Okay.
Just take a moment.
Sure.
State, I'm sorry, Judge.
Oh, do you want that back on, or?
That's fine.
Yes?
Just,
No. or no?
I need to ask a question of the, back on the record.
Okay, there you go. All right.
Sorry, Judge. I've
No
got
problem.
to get better at that. Mr. Brown will enter a not guilty plea today. The alleged victim apparently is in Santa Rosa County custody, and the state is going to reach out to her and see if we might be able to do a misdemeanor deal or a plea or a lesser included in lieu of what is currently a guidelines offer with a felony and a score of basically 59.5 months, so that wouldn't get him out of jail today. So we'll need to continue it to the pretrial. Just keep him on April 14, Your Honor.
All right, April 14th at 9. Sir, if you're still in custody, we'll probably move you to the April 16th docket. But if you're out, April 14th at 9 is what you're set for right now. All right, and the charge is aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without intent to kill. And I think you said you're entering a not guilty on that one, right?
That's correct.
Yes.
And for the record, Your Honor, it's an aggravated assault, I believe.
Yeah, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without intent to kill.
Your Honor, just for the record, he's asking me about a speedy trial, and I need to do discovery in the case. If there is a misdemeanor deal that would alleviate the need for the discovery, then that might advance his interests much better, and that's what I've been trying to work on for the last few weeks. So.
Right. The information was just filed. This is the first court date after first appearance, so, and the pretrial detention hearing I believe we had.
Right. So I would need to do discovery, but we may be able to moot the need for that if we reach a deal. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. April 14th at 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. All right, let's recall Mr. Atkinson, 24 CF 2926. And Mr. Medina, the bondsman for Mr. Atkinson is here.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, could I call the bondsman? Is it Mr. Bird? Mr. Bird?
Yes.
Could my client just step to the left?
Sure.
And we'll just have him be at the...
Hi, Mr. Bird. I'm Judge Clark. Nice to see you.
Your Honor, Steve Medina with Mr. Bird, the bondsman. I would ask that he be able to go under oath and explain what the nature of his information was in terms of the next court date that the bondsman thought and communicated to my client.
All right. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you, sir. And if you'll just state your name so that our court reporter can get it down.
Yes, Daryl Bird.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. All right.
What may I just inquire?
Yes, go right ahead.
I'm sorry, Judge.
No, you go right ahead. Mm-hmm.
What bondsman company are you with?
Bird Bail Bonds.
Okay, thank you. And did you provide a bail bond to Mr. Atkinson?
I did, yes.
Okay. Now, getting back to the root of the matter, what is the nature of the information that he would have had about his next court date as far as you know?
Okay, so as far as his court dates and his information, we get that from the courts. We relay that to him either by phone if he calls or by an app that we provide. And I believe one of the first conversations that I had with Donnie was he was asking about his court date, and at the time I didn't see it posted. He said that he was going to contact the court, see if he could also find it. And Your Honor, I also apologize because I pride myself in due diligence, and I fell short. So as a bondsman, it is my primary responsibility to make sure that my clients have the court dates, and I fell short on that.
Well, that's, thank you. Thank you for that, sir. In light of that, what's the state's position?
And the state's not going to have an objection to you recalling the KPS.
I will recall the capias.
Your Honor, because it was inadvertent, would the court also please consider reinstating the bond?
Yes. I saw that the bond was, what did I see? I think it was forfeited or something. Is his bond able to be reinstated with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then the court will reinstate his previous bonds, whatever they were.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. It will be, Mr. Atkinson, your court date, there's some forms up there where you can write them down. Yes, 9 o'clock. Good. Good for you. Tell that to Mr. Medina, make sure that he can advocate for you with all the information.
Your Honor, I'm going to give him a card so we can set a meeting.
Yes.
And thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Mr.
Your Honor,
Atkinson.
by the way, we can go ahead and enter a not guilty plea because this was
His arraignment?
in lieu of his prior arraignment. So
Yes.
can we enter not guilty plea in 24 CF 2926?
Yes,
Thank
and
you.
his bonds are reinstated.
Thank you.
He needs to be here on April 14th at 9.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Mr. Gomez Rojas came in.
Oh, okay.
And
Great.
we have an interpreter.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Your Honor, this is Alex Gomez Rojas, 25 CF 236.
Yes. Good afternoon. I'm Judge Clark. Can you tell me your name?
My name is Alex Roman Daniel Gomez Rojas.
Thank you. And looks like Mr. Gates is representing Mr. Gomez Rojas.
Yes, and I have given Mr. Gomez Rojas Mr. Gates's card. We enter a plea of not guilty today and continue to the next court date. I'm also going to give him an application for the public defender. I think that we were appointed at first appearances, but I'll have him fill this out before he leaves.
Do you have the Spanish version?
Yes, I've got it.
Great. And the next court date is April 14th at 9 o'clock. You need to be on time. Were you in the other courtroom, or why are you late?
Es que aquí en el bond no dice ninguna información ni dirección de la corte.
I had trouble because in the bond paperwork it doesn't say address or anything about court.
Estuve dando vueltas por
And I
muchas.
was traveling around town trying to figure out where to go.
Okay.
I think it's hard, especially for Spanish-speaking clients, Your Honor, unfortunately.
This building, maybe not this room, but this building is where you need to be, April 14th at 9 o'clock. Please don't be late.
Okay, perfecto.
I almost issued a warrant for your arrest today.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Happy, good afternoon.
Yeah, I can hold them available.
And this is
We're gonna do one that has no attorney and then it's your. So Judge, next up will be Nicholas Caruso.
Carasso, the third. Yes, 25 CF 259.
Your Honor, I represent Nicholas Carrasso in the other case that he has opened.
Mhm.
Excuse me, so I would ask that you appoint our office in this case as well.
I am appointing the Office of the Public Defender in 25 CF 259. The charge is one count of possession of a controlled substance without a prescription.
Okay. Your Honor, I apologize. I had met with my client earlier to review an offer from the state attorney, and he's telling me now that he's changed his mind. He would like to accept the offer. I believe that I need to have the state attorney sign it.
Okay.
She has it, and then I'll have Mr. Colasso sign it as well.
Okay.
There's a score sheet on the back. There's a change to the restitution, then we'll bring it back to the court. To that issue only?
Yes, of course. Yeah. So I'm going to have you sign it here. Your Honor, may I approach with the plea?
Yes.
And there's a score sheet as well.
Thank you.
This is a global plea agreement that includes this new case and the original one that he had with me.
All right, thank you.
I believe there's a small error. The second case under point number 1 is 24-259. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
I feel like it's the time of year where I never know if there are 24 cases or 25 cases.
No problem. Okay. What are the other case that's involved is 24-2314.
I don't know.
And what would be the costs on that case and on the current case 25-259?
Okay.
The current case 259 would be $615, and the 24 case would be $550.
Okay, and then $150 public defender fee on the 2024 case, and then $100 on the 2025 case. Got it. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Mr. Carrasso, if you will please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say I do. Thank you, sir. You can put your hand down. If you'll state your name, please.
Nicholas Caruso.
All right, and are you the third?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You are here on one count of organized fraud in case 24 CF 2314. That's a third-degree felony. And one count of possession of a controlled substance in case 25 CF 259. That's also a third-degree felony. Have you had a chance to talk to your lawyer about those charges and any possible defenses you might have?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
All right. Did you read and sign the plea agreement?
I believe so. That's what I found
Yes, I did.
It's titled Plea and Sentencing Agreement.
I did.
Okay, and is this your signature on the last page?
Yes.
Have you had enough time to talk to your lawyer about the plea agreement?
Yes.
Do you understand the rights you give up when you enter a plea?
Yes.
Are you entering the plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Is anybody forcing you or threatening you to make you enter a plea?
No.
Are you happy with the services of your lawyer?
Yes.
Has she answered all of your questions?
She has.
Have you had any drugs or alcohol or medication in the last 24 hours or anything that would affect your ability to understand what you're doing?
No.
I have a score sheet that shows 18.4 total sentence points. Any objections?
No, Your Honor. And if I could add something, just speaking with the state attorney, it's my understanding that there is a co-defendant in this case. There is a warrant. I believe there was a warrant. He was picked up at some point on something else. The warrant, for whatever reason, wasn't served. But as a result, the state attorney has agreed that, of course, if he's picked up and it would change the restitution that my client owes, that we would bring the agreement, the plea agreement, before the court on the issue of restitution only. That is the one thing that would potentially change. But Mr. Carasso understands that that very well might not happen, and he is otherwise pleading exactly as it is here before you.
Okay. Is there any DNA?
No, Your Honor.
I do find a sufficient factual basis based on my review of the arrest reports. Sir, do you understand if you're not a U.S. citizen, the plea could subject you to deportation?
Yes.
In 24 CF 2314, how do you plead to one count of organized fraud?
No contest.
I accept your plea. I find it was freely and voluntarily entered. In case 25 CF 259, how do you plead to one count of possession of a controlled substance?
No contest.
I accept your plea. I find it was freely and voluntarily entered. I will sentence you in both cases in accordance with your plea agreement. And in case 24 CF 2314, there will be an adjudication of guilt. You will be placed on probation for 60, that's 60 months. Does probation agree to waive the cost of supervision?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify and make sure it's in the plea agreement, but I wanted to run it by probation first. All right, so probation has graciously agreed to waive the cost of probation supervision. That will save you about $40 a month. There is $4,200 in restitution due to the Homeless and Housing Alliance, which you are ordered to pay at the rate of a minimum of $100 per month. You must also perform 24 hours of community service. You must maintain employment or submit at least 2 job applications a week. There are $515 in court costs and $150 cost of defense fee. That also includes the $50 application fee. As to 25 CF 259, there will be an adjudication of guilt. You are sentenced to credit for time served, and the court costs are $615 plus a $100 public defender cost of defense fee, and you will have the period of probation to pay those costs and fees, the probation in the 2024-2314 case. So the costs and fees that I just imposed in 25 CF 259, you can pay those while you're on probation in the 2024 case. And sir, you have 30 days to appeal the judgment and sentence of the court. If you cannot afford a lawyer, I will appoint one for you. Anything that I left out or missed?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you. Good luck to you, sir.
Right this way. So take this with you. You probably won't get out in time to check in with probation today. She's going to give you that information. Okay? I've let Mr. Carasso know that he probably won't be released today in time to check in with probation. They'll, of course, give him that information, and if that's the case, then he'll have to go first thing in the morning.
Yes, Mr. Carasso, you need to check in by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning with probation, okay? You're probably not going to get out today in time, so go first thing in the morning, okay? Yes. Thank you. Hello, I'm Judge Clark. Can you tell me your name?
Julius Anthony Cody.
Thank you, sir. You're hearing case number 25 CF 275. And you're charged with 1 count of fraud, illegal use of credit cards, 2 or more times within 6 months, and petty theft from a dwelling or curtilage less than $40, I think. But let me take a look at that, see if that's right. Oh, sorry, let me rephrase. I'm looking at the information that was filed on March 12th, and count 1 is fraudulent use of a credit card during a 6-month period or $100 or more. That's a third-degree felony, and 1 count of petty theft, $100 or more but less than $750. That's a first-degree misdemeanor. And Ms. Farkas, how does your client plead?
Excuse me, Your Honor. The state and the defense have reached an agreement. I've had my client sign it, and I have a score sheet as well. May I approach?
Yes, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. And what are the costs? Excellent, thank you. All right, sir, if you'll raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say, I do.
I do.
Thank you, sir. You can put your hand down. And Mr. Cohn, I read out your charges just a second ago. Have you had a chance to talk to your lawyer about the charges and any possible defenses?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you discuss the plea agreement with your lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you read and sign the plea agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that your signature on the last page?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand the rights that you're giving up by entering a plea?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you entering the plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with the services of your lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Did she answer all of your questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had any drugs, alcohol, medicine, anything in the last 24 hours that affects your ability to understand what you're doing?
No, ma'am.
I have a score sheet that shows 12.4 total sentence points. Any objections?
No, Your Honor.
All right. I do find a sufficient factual basis based on my review of the arrest documents. Sir, if you're not a U.S. citizen, do you understand that the plea will subject you to deportation?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to counts 1 and 2?
No contest.
I accept your plea. I find it was freely and voluntarily entered, and I will sentence you in accordance with your plea agreement. As to both counts, adjudication will be withheld. And on count 1, 24 months probation. It says on here, waive cost of probation. Let me check. Okay, probation has no objection to that. Then $100 restitution. Who is that paid to?
I apologize, Your Honor. I didn't, it's an individual, so I didn't put his name in the plea agreement. But the individual's name is
Jackson Hamilton.
Yep, there you go.
Okay. You will pay the restitution as directed by probation. You don't go give it to that gentleman. You do what probation tells you as far as payment, okay?
Yes, ma'am. I understand.
All right. So it's $100 restitution to Jackson Hamilton to be paid at the rate of $25 per month minimum. Then you will have to do 24 hours of community service. You are to have no contact with Jackson Hamilton. $515, that's 515, in court costs, $150 cost of defense, that includes the $50 application fee, and probation to automatically terminate after 12 months minimum if you have completed all of the terms and conditions and you've done everything and you haven't had any violations. So,
So just to make sure that Mr. Cohn understands, we did discuss it earlier, but if he finishes everything in 6 months, he'll still have to be on probation for another 6 months, but then it would terminate at the
Right.
12-month mark.
you're going to be on probation for a minimum of 12 months. If that 12-month mark rolls around and you've completed everything and paid everything, then you'd be terminated then. If it takes you a little longer, then so be it, but as long as you haven't had a violation. Then on count 2, the sentence is just credit for time served. That's a misdemeanor. So withhold adjudication on both counts. Sir, you have 30 days to appeal the judgment and sentence of the court. If you cannot afford a lawyer, I'll appoint one for you. Good luck to you. You'll need to report to probation by 9 o'clock in the morning. You won't get out in time today to make it there to report, so do so in the morning.
Gary Broom will be next.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. (25) CF 186.
Yes, Your Honor, this is 25 CF 186. He also has a VOP 23 CF 1422, Garrett Krim. He'd like to enter a plea of not guilty. Look at the second page. Plea of not guilty. I think that he's already on the 414 docket. I believe that both of these will probably be moved to 416.
Okay. And the charges are fleeing or attempting to elude law enforcement in an agency vehicle with siren and lights activated at a high rate of speed. That's a second-degree felony. Resisting an officer without violence, first-degree misdemeanor. Leaving the scene of a crash involving property damage, also, well, no, that's a second-degree misdemeanor. And then driving under the influence, which is a misdemeanor as well. So court date right now is April 14th at 9. And if you're still in custody, then that will be, you'll be put on the April 16th docket instead. But right now it's April 14th at 9.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, 32 and 33. Angelique Croxton. Or do you want someone else?
No, I don't care.
All right, that would be 25 CF 228, Angelique Croxton.
I've got it right there for you with her score sheet.
All right.
I was getting this from the state attorney. This is Angelique Croxton, 25 CF 228. The state and the defense have reached an agreement in this case that I've gone over with Ms. Croxton. I'm just going to have her sign it.
Okay. The charges are 2 counts of possession of a controlled substance without a prescription. Those are each a third-degree felony. 1 count of possession of drug paraphernalia, which is a first-degree misdemeanor, and 1 count of driving while license suspended, which is also a misdemeanor.
I apologize, Your Honor, we were making a brief edit to the score
Sure.
sheet. just doing the really quick math. Okay. If I may approach.
Sure. No problem, thank you.
Okay, so Bruno's good, Brett's good, and Lena's gonna take care of all of these recommendations.
It's long day.
No, I can't say kind of, sounds like he has
Thank you.
possible defense, but he
But we're not saying it's very-
grandfather's. So.
Yeah, that's fine.
So for me, I've got to read that.
All right, ma'am, if you'll raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you, ma'am. If you'll state your name for me.
Angelique Clarice Croxton.
Thank you. I read out your charges just a minute ago. Have you had a chance to discuss your charges and any possible defenses with your lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you discuss the plea agreement with your lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you read and sign the plea agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your signature on the last page?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand the rights that you give up when you enter a plea?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you entering the plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am.
Is anybody forcing you or threatening you to make you enter a plea? Have you had any drugs, alcohol, medicine, anything in the last 24 hours that affects your ability to understand what you're doing?
No, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with the services of your lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Did she answer all of your questions?
She did.
Great. I have a score sheet that shows 25 total sentence points. Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Any DNA?
No.
All right. I do find a sufficient factual basis based on the arrest documents. Ma'am, if you're not a U.S. citizen, do you understand that the plea could subject you to deportation?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How do you plead to counts 1, 3, and 4?
No contest.
I accept your plea. I find it was freely and voluntarily entered. Does the state have an announcement on count 2?
It will be null processing count 2 in exchange for a plea to the other counts.
Thank you. I will sentence you in accordance with your plea agreement. There will be an adjudication of guilt on counts 1, 3, and 4. And the sentence is to time served on those counts. And let me make sure the costs are accurate.
It's going to be $6.15.
Yes, $615 in court costs, $150 public defender fee. That includes the $50 application fee. You have 24 months to pay that before it affects your driver's license. And also, based on the adjudication on count 1, your license is probably going to be suspended by the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. There's nothing I can do about that. It's under the statute. So, yeah. You can apply for a business purposes only license. I can't tell you whether you'll qualify or not. I don't have any control over that either.
Okay.
But just to let you know that there is a mandatory license suspension that'll happen probably in this case.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, you have 30 days to appeal the judgment and sentence of the court. And if you cannot afford a lawyer, I'll appoint one for you. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Is this the only thing holding you in jail?
Yes.
You'll get out today. Thank you.
Hopefully not. Your Honor, this is Chance French, 25 CF 136.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. French would like to enter a plea of not guilty. We actually have depositions scheduled for Monday.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the alleged victim and the witness are now out of town, so we're getting them rescheduled, but we're at least starting with law enforcement. So,
Okay,
just to update the court where we're at.
that is great news. Moving right along quickly. The charge is 1 count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without intent to kill. And the court date is April 14th at 9 o'clock. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, looks like our next case is Mr. Hensey, Christopher Hensey, 25 CF 240.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. Your Honor, this is Christopher Hensey. Sorry, you just said 25 CF 240. He does also have a VOP 24 CF 389. Spoken with Travis Gates, who is representing Mr. Hensey. Mr. Hensey will enter a not guilty plea today, and I think he's already on the docket for 414.
Yes.
That will likely be moved to 416.
Yes. So, sir, if you're out of custody, you need to be in court on April 14th at 9. If you happen to still be in custody, we'll move you to the 16th. But right now, you're set for April 14th at 9.
Yes,
all
ma'am.
right? Good luck to you. Thank you.
Travis, can you talk to me?
Congratulations.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Next up is Max John.
All right. That is 25 CF 252. All right. Yes, sir. Could you tell me your name?
Max John, man.
Thank you. And you're charged with 1 count of possession of a controlled substance without a prescription, which is a 3rd-degree felony, and 1 count of possession of drug paraphernalia, which is a 1st-degree misdemeanor. Can you afford a lawyer?
No, ma'am.
Would you like me to appoint one?
I'd like to go ahead and handle it today if I can.
All right. Let me see if an attorney, Ms. Farkas or Mr. Medina, how do you wish to?
I don't believe that he's currently represented by our office, but I can inquire with the state if there is an offer.
Sure.
The offer is 6 months in the Okaloosa County Jail, court costs with credit for time served.
Can't get no probation.
No. Just as a friend of the court, I will advise
Thank you.
Mr. John. Public Defender's Office, and his case would most likely be